like some people would say like Superman is a Mary Sue character. But if you think about it, like just because he's like super strong and stuff, like the whole story about Superman was he's an immigrant, has to like battle between both of his cultures, if like human and like Kryptonian. Like if you have someone like it doesn't have to be like a super like strong character. It can be like a person who's like invulnerable and cannot die.
Yeah.
That'd be perfect because they can like struggle with like the everyday life of like you can't fall in love because that person because your spouse or anything like that will die. People love like dramatic like scenarios and just like what's the word like trials. People love how like other people can traverse through like difficult situations. That's what makes characters stand out. Their resilience and their strength.
People want to see characters overcome their problems, overcome obstacles. I mean, that's the whole point of a story, to watch a character overcome their obstacles.
Yeah, that's the number one goal for characters. Like, if you're going on a quest, they'll have like this subtle like subplot about this like this person has a certain type of thing that like is on them, and like sometimes it could be like in the middle of the story when you like or at the climax. Like where like this person like fixes this problem internally, like the struggle that they have inside themselves, and they finish their quest. Or sometimes their quest is to like this internal struggle they have.
It's their character arc.
I think it's
most characters. Every character needs some sort of arc.
Yes.
An arc can be a character arc can be defined as like when a character is given the opportunity for change, and whether that character takes that opportunity, it defines that character. For example, Batman, he's given the opportunity to kill, to go against his principles, to change.
To use guns.
And because he never changes, that defines that character.
And like when you're also what we haven't been talking about, when you create villains for your stories. See, a hero is only as good as his villain. Yeah, and when you make villains, don't make them bland, like, oh, I just want to go kill shit. Like Voldemort. Voldemort is probably the most bland villain I can think of.
But to sort of slightly counter what you're saying, I think you can do like a villain that's just completely evil, but you gotta do it in a certain way.
Oh, like a maniac or like a psycho, kind of like the Joker.
The whole like the Joker isn't necessarily like he's just crazy.
He's just insane.
Backstory is insane.
But he represents something thematically. He is the sort of antithesis to Batman, which makes him interesting.
And as we were kind of saying like earlier in the podcast, as Sam was saying about if he was creating a Skyrim character that was a thief, they get the look of a thief. The Joker has a look of a crazy person,
like a crazy guy.
And even by now everyone knows the Joker's backstory. But you don't even need to present a backstory to realize how batshit crazy the Joker is.
Yeah, the thing about the Joker that they do in the comics, which is interesting, they show like the backstory, but they show different backstories. They show multiple different.
It depends on the universe.
They sort of do this vague thing about like which is real. Like we don't know for sure which is the actual backstory. I believe one of the lines in The Killing Joke is, "If I'm gonna have a backstory, I prefer it to be multiple choice."
That's
with
cool.
that makes the character more interesting that way.
Fun.
Also, like when you're creating like a villain, like it's always good to make sure that villain is like relatable, or like their goals, or like how what they're doing is like justified by their way of thinking.
Yeah.
Because like sometimes it doesn't always have to be a bad guy, but it can just be
an
antagonist. Yeah.
They don't think what they're doing is bad, and in a way you could see it as not being bad.
They're not on your side.
Either way, they're going against the protagonist.
Right. True. It's always you'll never find a good story. Well,
should we give an example for that? Actually, I don't mean to cut you up, but should like we give
story about
like
an example about?
Okay, so like maybe I could pull something from like Halo. Like okay, so like there's these two factions. There's like the insurrectionist, and well, this is like more of a lore kind of things, and there's like UNSC. Now, of course, being a part of like the Halo universe, most of the time we're like, oh, UNSC and Oni, they're great people. But then you like start hearing about all this like turmoil and just like tragedy going on in the outer colonies, and then like the insurrectionists, they just want to be like be treated as equals and like be protected, and they're like looked down upon by the inner colonies. So when they're fighting back against the UNSC and Oni, it's like you can't say they're bad because they're just fighting
Yeah.
for themselves, for their freedom, and like for to help themselves out. But then like if the protagonist is on the UNSC side, it's gonna like they're not each side is like both sides like you will perceive which one is bad. Fuck, where's I going this? But like they don't always have to be like, oh, they're trying to destroy the universe, but no, like they're fighting for their goal, which is opposed to the protagonist's goal.
There's always multiple sides to a story, I think.
Yeah.
You can. It's kind of. I think one of also a good traits for a good villain is having kind of that story where a villain isn't.
We should just use the word antagonist already, because like we're describing antagonists, not villains.
Well, unless it is the actual villain.
Yeah.
Okay, go on with your stuff.
So for a villain,
I'll be quiet.
He's actually an antagonist. Villain.
Continue.
For a good villain is they're not gonna think what they're doing is wrong, like you were saying. They're not gonna be like, well, you know what? Actually, some will be like, I'm the bad guy. But a lot of antagonists and villains alike will think what they're doing is the right thing, and they'll know that they're doing the right thing, and it kind of like you said in a good character protagonist, we like that that kind of like they're not always the strongest. They kind of have that weak side of them. Same with the villain, where they kind of what they think everyone else thinks what they're doing is wrong, but they think it's good, you know.
Yeah.
What they're doing is the way they perceive it is the right thing to do to like help out.
I think that's how every villain should be, no matter what kind of style you're doing. If you're doing over the top loony, the villain should still think that what they're doing is genuinely right.
Like Ultron from like the Avengers: Age of Ultron, perfect. Because like what he thinks he's doing is he's saving the planet, like by like destroying humanity. Like all that little thing is like, oh, this is the only way we can save the planet.
Yeah.
And then like
in a really weird and twisted way, he's kind of right though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you guys seen the commercial? I don't want to get too off topic, but it's this commercial of it's a tree, and it's like walking into New York City, and the tree is kind of narrating its journey from out of the forest into New York City, and it finally stays in the city and
gets dropped down.
No, it's in the city, and it's just kind of left there and forgotten about on the side of the like in a. Like one of those side, like in New York, they have those trees. You know what I'm talking about. Yeah. And they're saying like, you know, a little girl walks up with her grandfather, and she's like, "Papa, why is there the tree not in the forest where it should be?" And the tree responds with, "Isn't it funny how I'm more safer here in the city than actually in the forest? Because all those forests are getting chopped down." And it was just an interesting thing that I wanted to share.
That actually sounds pretty cool.
Yeah,
I'm more safe amongst my enemy than I'm amongst my own people.
Right.
Yeah, and that makes an interesting story.
Yeah, exactly. And I saw that, I'm like, damn, that's cool.
Also, another thing, like you don't always have to have a villain. You can have an anti-hero.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you like to explain? Because like I don't really know much about anti-heroes, but
usually
like
when you hear anti-hero, you usually think comic book characters like I guess Deadpool. Deadpool is kind of an anti-hero. He's like kind of in between a villain and a good guy. So going back to like what do you think about like should villains be sympathetic?
Like okay, when I create villains, like I usually try to make them like come off as human. You know what I mean? Like so like I'm not gonna spoil too much, but I was writing a story once, and like it had this one villain, this antagonist, who was like this feared general who would like just like pillage and destroy his enemies, but he had a daughter he like deeply loved and cared about, and like he was a great leader to his people. He brought them out of slavery and like built up this great nation. So like he's a great leader for his people, but he's feared amongst his neighboring nations. Like he's considered like this evil like warmongering tyrant. But like to his people, he's like this hero. You know what I mean? Like give this human side to a villain. It's always fun to have because like the heroes, like it's more like you're fighting an actual person and not like this evil idea.
Although that can work depending on the
It
type of
can
story
work.
you want to do.
Yeah. Something I like to see is I'm not a writer, so when I think about a villain, I usually stuff that's been created is I think sympathy from a villain is good, but also sympathy for the villain. Something like you have this evil guy, right? And doing all this bad stuff, and then he has a moment of weakness that is shown, and then instead of him, becoming the good guy, you see him as weak, and he's kind of.
You see like this vulnerable human side of him.
And then you're like, well, maybe he's turning good. Maybe I feel for the villain. This is not a good experience for anyone. But instead of the villain kind of like relaxing, he gets even angrier and darker. That's exciting to me. I think
maybe that an example of that might be like Harry Potter. Towards the end of the final movies, books, Voldemort, the Horcruxes start to be destroyed, and Voldemort gets weaker, and he gets more like desperate and vicious.
Yeah.
As that happens. But I think depending on the type of story you're doing, you could go for like an all-out evil villain that isn't necessarily sympathetic.
Yeah, you
One
like,
example
yeah,
of that is the Shredder from Ninja Turtles.
Oh, yeah.
He isn't really sympathetic at all. Depending on the iteration, they might make him a bit sympathetic. But the one thing he is that makes it, I think, okay, is he's fun. He's a fun villain, which he's an enjoyable villain.
Yeah.
So they get away with the whole not really being sympathetic or really having a solid.
Yeah, mind the noise.
Or a solid like
Character.
whatever. I don't care.
I don't
care anymore.
Yeah, like okay, well, like what John was saying, but like for me, like I usually like to give like a more like for villains, they're not all bad. Like they have like this gold.
Yeah.
This seems noble to them, but like for the protagonist, it's completely contrast with what they're trying to do and what they have to do. And sometimes it's good to make the protagonist look sort of bad.
Yeah.
Like show this part like they're good guys, but sometimes they'll have to do bad things. Like
Everybody has a little bit of
like they won't always choose to do the good thing.
Like I've seen stories where they do interesting things, like they do things where they have the protagonist and the antagonist, and the protagonist, who we think is good and stuff, we see sort of this darker side of them. We start to question whether this person is really good, and then we see the villain, who we think is just always bad. Then we start to see this good side of it, and then we start questioning whether this villain is actually bad. Basically, just flips the tables on you.
And like a perfect example is Rick Grimes from The Walking Dead. First he starts out as like, this noble cop who's like, trying to find his family. Slowly becomes this bloodthirsty crazy guy who won't think twice to kill people, from going to like we don't kill people to just not even thinking about it and just killing people. So like the slow progression of your main character becoming more vicious, more savage and bad is great character progression.
And another kind of example of that, unlike Rick Grimes from being a cop to Les Miserables. I don't know if any of you. I love that movie. But the new movie that came out 2 years ago. So it kind of starts off with the character Jean Valjean.
We'll leave a link to the trailer in the description.
Yeah.
It's a great movie. I mean, I'm not a fan of operas, and there's a lot of singing in it, but damn, it's a good movie. You get so invested with the story, you don't know they're singing. But Jean Valjean, he stole. Like that was he.
Yeah, he stole a loaf of bread, went to prison, stole a loaf of bread to feed his sister's son. He went to prison, and then his sentence keep getting extended because he kept trying to escape.
Right. So he kept trying to escape, and then I forget the police guy. What was it? Javert. And
Javert. Do you know what that means?
I don't know what's going on.
Sorry. You don't know what we're talking about.
Yeah, I'm less cultured.
Javert, he's doing his job.
Yeah.
That's all he's doing. And Jean Valjean, he stole a loaf of bread to feed his family. That's not a bad thing.
But from Javert's point of view, he broke the law. He is a criminal.
Right. He's a criminal, and he broke the law, and you can't be biased.
To Javert, there is no gray area. There's black-white.
Right. And to us, we relate with Jean Valjean because he's starving, he's feeding his family, and that's kind of one of the things where it's kind of like you really got to think about. Well, Javert you start to hate him in the movie, but all he did was do his job.
Yeah.
What he, took an oath to do because he's a police officer. It's a really good movie. I totally recommend it.
That could
read the book if you want.
I could give like another thing like if anyone here reads comics, there's this one like very famous Marvel comic issue known as like Marvel Civil War, where like where it splits between like Captain America and people against the Antihero Registration Act, and then there's Iron Man, Tony Stark on his side, where like pro registration. So like the whole thing between them was like Tony Stark was supposed to like they try to make it even and like try to make both sides seem reasonable, but slowly Tony Stark starts to look more like the bad guy because like he offed a couple like a hero and stuff. And like these are both heroes in the story, and one progressively starts to look bad because of your perception of like how like this event would roll out, like difference in ideologies and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, like what I was trying to say, where I was going with that is like Tony Stark was just doing his job,
Yeah, just doing your job.
Just doing his job, but people were starting to like despise him.
And that's one of the book series that I really got into, the Chronicles of Vladimir Todd. Recommended. They're written by Heather Brewer, an amazing author. But there's a whole 5 books. I'm not gonna go into crazy detail, but whole 5 books. You follow a character named Vlad. He's half vampire, half human. Lives in a town. Kind of has to. So Russia. Vlad, he lives in a town.
Vladimir Putin.
He lives in a town and has to do this, and the second, there's 5 books in the series, and the 2nd to 5th books introduces his enemy, Joss, which happens to be his best friend's cousin.
Spoiler alert.
Who is shoot. That's actually not a spoiler. Who happens to be a vampire slayer. So it's like, whoa, Joss, because Vlad is like, oh, he's amazing. The whole book is written around Vlad. You're like, wow, he's the best. And Josh, you suck. Well, then, after the 5 books of Vladimir Todd ended, the author, Heather Brewer, came up with the Slayer Chronicles, which is the same stories about Vladimir Todd, but
told in the perspective of the hunter.
Josh, which is
I love that.
Very interesting and amazing read. I recommend all of Heather Brewer's work. She's one of my favorite authors.
Nothing comes to mind exactly, but I'd like to ask you, have you ever seen a story where we have the good guy, we have the bad guy, and at a certain point through the series, it kind of becomes flipped where the person we thought was the good guy is actually the bad guy. The person we thought was the bad guy is actually the good guy. I know I've seen this before, but I can't think of any specific examples.
There was a video game with that I can't remember off the top of my head, but like
Modern Warfare 2.
I can't remember off the top of my head what that video game was, but you play as this guy who's going through the campaign, and you find out at the end he's just this insane guy that lost his mind. And no, it's not Black Ops.
Yeah, I was thinking that too.
No, it's different. It's different.
In Modern Warfare 2, I'm sure you guys have played it. You're like, with your guys Ghost, and you got your whole squadron, and you're taking commands from Commander Shepard.
Oh yeah, that's a perfect. Like you think Shepard's a good guy.
You look up to Shepard. You listen to him. And then
he stabs you in the back and shoots you in the face.
He burns you. He actually burns you, and then
he shot. I think it was Ghost in the face. No, it was Soap, right? It was Soap.
He burnt Ghost on fire because he shot them.
Soap and Roach.
Yeah, and then in the end you have that awesome scene where he throws a knife and it lands directly in his eye. I love Modern Warfare 2, man. Holy crap!
Like I think what he's saying, like you see the guy who you see as hero is the villain the whole time.
That actually makes me think
plot twists are like if handled properly.
That makes me think of another sort of plot twist. A similar thing. Have either of you played Portal 2?
No.
I'm gonna just. This is gonna be a really big spoiler.
It doesn't matter. I'm never gonna play it in my life.
Basically, you basically play this character who is trapped in this giant facility, this testing facility run by a deranged, insane AI. And you're basically trying to get out, and you meet this other AI named Wheatley, and he wants to escape too. So it's basically you and him trying to work together to get out. But he's kind of the bumbling idiot comic relief, and basically you get to this point where you're able to sort of take the main bad guy, GLaDOS, out of her system, because she controls everything. You're able to take her out, and you put Wheatley in. and Wheatley immediately becomes like overwhelmed with this power, and he immediately turns on you, overwhelmed by this power.
Whoa.
So like I've never really seen this before, where the comic relief character becomes the villain.
I have. I believe like any anime fans out there would say like yeah, that would probably be Naruto, and like not Naruto, but in the Naruto universe, there's this guy named Toby.
I'd argue because he was bad the whole time. He didn't become a bad
But then
guy.
like from
He was just-
like when we see like yeah, but like the way they portrayed him, like turned bad from good.
But it was really just like them tricking you. It was revealed that he was the villain the whole time.
Which should like bring us to another section of this talk, like plot twist.
Plot twist.
If handled correctly,
If handled-
plot
I've
twist
seen-
can be very great.
I've seen amazing plot twists. I've seen horrible ones.
Naruto.
In that same series, I've seen both brilliant ones and terrible ones.
Yeah.
I can't really think of an example of plot
twist
off my head, but I love them.
Like plot twists are very fun. I try to. That's not my strongest suit, but I try to work like very ingenious plot twist. But like if you do like too many, like one plot twist is good enough. But if you can like pull off like 4 or 5, then that's even better. But try not to do that because you'll end up with a series like Naruto.
If you have too many plot twists, I think it gets.
You're at the point if you keep doing plot twists, you're like, okay, I don't know what I'm doing with the story anymore. I'm trying to find a way to get to the end. Plot twist, plot twist, plot twist. It's a device you use to like just flip the whole story upside down on its face, and it's like this is how things are the whole time, how they've been, and like it's great to have foreshadowing and setup for plot twist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
little
always
things.
hints.
like a Fight Club.
Never seen it,
Like
but I want.
you've talked to me about like not only Fight Club but like what's a good one, like Adventure Time doesn't really have plot twists, but like the setups for things.
There's like seeds for things that like you'll have something in like season 2 that won't pay off until season 6.
And people love that stuff.
Yeah.
Like when you have things like such an extensive plot. Like what brings me back to now, like I'm gonna branch off from like plot twists because like I'm not sure if we can go anywhere with that, but like yeah, okay, I'm not gonna branch off that right now. But what I'm gonna say is like what brings me back to what I was saying, when we create stories, I create universes like around this world, like countries, like like all this like systems of how like the world would work. So it allows me, so when I go further onto story, I can plant these things here.
If you want a plot twist, you have to like plan in advance. Like that's how the universe works. I've seen things where it's like the plot twist is an obvious retcon, where it's like, oh, you didn't plan that. You just made that shit up.
You just pull that out of your ass.
And I've seen it. Have either of you watched Doctor Who?
No.
No.
Doctor Who is a perfect example. It has many retcons, some of them brilliantly and expertly done, which I applaud them doing it so well, but also terrible retcons where I'm like, that's so lazy and slapped on.
The thing about Doctor Who is, I don't want to, mess with Doctor Who fans because I'll have my head on a plank in like minutes. But
A pike. Continue.
Plank?
Head on a pike.
I say plank. That works.
Yeah,
right?
but how do you put a head on a plank?
You just chop it off and plop it on there.
Walk
man.
with your plank.
Fuck both of you. Doctor Who, the character doesn't die, right?
They always write a way around it.
See, like, to me, that's like, okay, there's I wouldn't get invested into that because I'm like, he's gonna be fine.
Yeah, there definitely is times when I'm like, okay.
Yeah, because
But, it's Doctor Who is a show that's constantly shuffling in new writers and stuff, and
I'm just saying I'm gonna talk right after you.
and basically it's all up to the writer to how they write it. They're able to get situations like to take advantage of the fact that he continues to live, who do things with like, how a character who never dies, what does that do to that person's character?
Okay.
Like
Writers will sometimes
I
use
guess
that
he's
sort of
like a
thing for
very
that.
resourceful person, who always finds a way, just at the perfect finds a way out.
And they'll do things like we know he's not gonna die, but like people who travel with him are definitely up for game to die.
okay, so that can give the side characters kind of even more. Okay,
So that can be like how does him being surrounded by all this death affect him?
Oh wow,
There's
okay.
ways to get around
Interesting.
that sort of thing. But
Which
like,
could,
the
like-
bad writers really try to play up like, oh no, he's gonna die.
Oh no.
He's not.
So which like brings me to another thing. Don't be afraid to have like this great main character and just kill him off. Stories can progress with the main characters gone.
Movies where like Quentin Tarantino, his movies really feel like anyone could die.
Yeah, I mean,
Public Enemy is a great example of like not knowing who is gonna die. Like people, anybody in that movie can be just like killed straight off. Like characters that people will love and like are invested in. It's all right to let these characters die, even if they're main characters. It progresses the story. Like, oh, what do we do now? We need this character for this certain thing. How are we gonna work around the situation? And plus, like character development. Like, how are these characters gonna cope with the loss of this great person they had?
There's so much you could do with that. And actually, you mentioning that brings me to another thing. I like to watch a lot of American cartoons.
Yes.
And the one thing that
Me too.
I hate more than anything is the trope. The status quo is God, where no matter what happens, everything will always get reset back to the way it was before the episode started.
oh yeah,
And that is something I'm really proud, because that is something that they're continually breaking away from more and more.
Yeah.
Which I'm loving. I'm loving it. Like Gravity Falls, Steven Universe.
I love Steven Universe.
They don't give what?
Like they keep the same form. Yeah, I love Steven
But
Universe.
they don't give a crap. They'll like change major things.
When I was a kid, I used to watch Timmy Turner a lot.
Fairly
Fairly Odd Parents.
Yeah. Oh
I hated
yeah.
that
I'm
show.
sorry.
Continue.
It's Fairly Odd Parents, but I call it Timmy Turner. But like a couple of years ago, they had like Cosmo and Wanda.
Yeah.
Had a baby, and I was like, I remember thinking, even though I was like 10, I was like, this is gonna be a 1 episode thing.
Yeah.
And they actually kept it in. I was like,
Yeah.
damn, this is
Yeah.
kind of cool.
Try not to be too conservative when like this when like ideas come along and like new things and like progression for like stories, and also when you're watching stuff, give things chances. Don't be too conservative just because your nostalgic bias doesn't want these things to change. Like change isn't always
No,
good.
I wanted to change, but I was in my head. I was like,
You didn't expect it.
I was like, when I saw the next season, it still had Poof, which is the character. I was like, wow, like cool. I'm glad.
Yeah.
Because that is I like you were saying, when you get to break away so many older cartoons, like you were saying, each episode was kind of like the same thing, just a different situation.
Like I think the show that suffers the most from the whole status quo thing is SpongeBob.
Oh yeah.
Where
SpongeBob.
plot things and like that'll like get reset.
Yeah.
But most importantly, and I think the biggest detriment to the show is character arcs will get reset.
Right.
Characters will learn things, and then the next episode they're back to their old ways. They don't, it's like it never happened.
Yeah, I like what you're saying. I have noticed that, but like subtly. Like how like now more American cartoons are branching out to that more like there's an actual plot now. It's not just like random episodes, which they're still doing. They're still following the same format, but they're slowly bringing it to a more developed, stage.
Yeah. Have either of you watched Gravity Falls?
No,
Gravity Falls is the #1 in terms of like continuity. It's the kind of show where it's like, okay, there's definitely a plan. Like you will notice things in the background in one episode which actually means something, and it will lead to something else in another episode.
That's cool. I think one of the things like SpongeBob, it had, like you were saying, has that kind of like it'll all be reset in the next episode. That's not a necessarily bad thing, because SpongeBob is
Well, it doesn't even have a plot.
well each episode has its own.
It's a comedy,
plot.
you know what I mean?
Yeah, each episode has its own plot.
Yeah, that's not necessarily a bad thing, but it can get kind of annoying when it comes to like character stuff. Like this character shouldn't do this. He learned not to be this.
It's SpongeBob
last episode, but
SpongeBob and shows like that. It's kind of like you watch them and you're like, haha, this is stupid and funny. You don't really, be like, did you see SpongeBob season?
It's not the kind of show you get excited about.
But stuff like the Walking Dead, stuff like that.
Oh, dude, did Glenn just die? Spoiler.
Yeah. You jackass. No, but it's kind of like and that's also more in like kids shows. Yeah. Kids don't really care about continuity, and I think as you get older, it's funner for us to
because the older generation, having grown up watching these cartoons, have now grown up and are now making these cartoons. And they're like, well, what would I have liked to see in those cartoons? I would have liked to see continuity. I'd have liked to see characters develop and it stay that way.
Unless you're like the creators of Teen Titan Go.
Yeah.
You're pretty much like fuck the original fans.
Fuck Teen Titans Go, man.
They
basically in nicer words came out and said, "Fuck you people who don't like Teen Titans Go."
We're gonna do it however we want to fucking do
I
it.
hate
They made this one funny episode. I love some episodes of Teen Titan Go. It's hilarious. Like
I hate Teen
I like how we went from talking about like story, like how to creativity, and just going straight like the progression of giving people information, and then now we're talking about like shows and how they're going on. But like I was saying about Teen Titan Go, I love there's some pretty great episodes, like how they're trying to be serious. That was a great episode. Then there's some episodes where there's like completely talking. This is directed straight to the original fans.
Yeah, and they're basically saying, "Fuck you.
Pretty
You're
much.
not getting your old show back."
It was the
This is
fourth
how it
wall
is.
episode. The episode about the fourth wall.
They did this I think they've done episodes like this twice.
Yeah, that was cool. See, my girlfriend, she lives with little foster brothers. They watch Teen Titans Go, and I'm like, what is this shit? Like, you know,
These kids don't know what they're watching.
they don't know what they're watching.
Yeah.
And you know, and then I also think about shit that I watched, like fish hooks. There was like some school.
Oh, I've seen that.
Yeah, it was
A
about
long
like
time ago.
fishing.
I don't
going
watch
to
anything
school.
on that channel anymore.
Lizzie McGuire.
Like Disney Channel
Yeah.
is not the thing to watch.
The only show that like
That's so weird.
Yeah, like the old Disney
Gravity
channels.
Falls is a Disney show and it's fucking amazing. I don't know how they got that show, but
I think some shows like they're amazing shows, but the networks they're on just limits them so much. Like a perfect I was about to say the perfect example is the Avatar series.
Oh my god.
Oh my
what
yes.
the hell happened to Korra? What the fuck were they doing?
But
didn't
like,
get into
but
Korra,
you know
but
what?
I loved Avatar.
I'm gonna be that
No,
one
I
guy that
love-
says the
Korra's
Legend
a
of
good
Korra
show, but the
was a
way
great show.
Nickelodeon treated that show.
Yeah, like
was
so
like, what are
episodes.
they even doing?
I thought it was pretty short. Like, I feel like a show like
Episodes
that
were not even like I'm sorry, I'm gonna cut you off.
like partway through like the series, they stopped airing them on the show, and they're like, yeah, if you want to watch Korra,
Go
you gotta
online.
go on the website.
serious?
find
That's
the
what I was
episode."
gonna
Yep,
say,
they
yeah.
did that.
They did that because like, I
That's
guess some things
fucking
were just too
idiots.
much fight scenes, but like,
Or
but
so
Legend of
maybe
Korra
the ending,
itself.
They were like, we don't want that on our show.
Yeah, Sam, you had to like. Didn't you came over our house and they're like, oh, they didn't air this on Nick or something?
Yeah, and like the Legend of Korra, like it went from being like all this like, oh, it was so bad. It was nothing like the original, the last Airbender stuff. But you know what? The way they made the character progression for the Legend of Korra was beautiful.
Oh.
She went from being this annoying person to being such this wise and collected.
Powerful.
Yeah, she like
Yeah. I think like season 1 is a bit of a mix. I think it's okay. I think season 2, it starts great, kind of dips terribly in the middle, gets really great to the end, and then from there on,
season 3 to season
It's all
4.
great.
Oh my god.
yeah.
I was like, you know what? Maybe I'm just gonna drop out of it because handled by Nickelodeon. But then I looked at it. It was like, wow.
I never watched The Legend of Korra.
Well, you should.
I know.
Have you watched the original Airbender series?
yeah, I did.
Yeah.
When I was
And I
like
loved it.
when I was like Legend of Korra season 3 and 4, maybe better. No, is better than book 1 of Avatar.
Yeah, definitely.
Do you guys still watch a lot of TV, like TV shows? Cause excuse that. Do you guys still watch a lot of TV, like actual TV? Cause I find myself watching less than an hour of TV a week.
Like with my schedule, I rarely ever watch TV, but online.
What I do is basically I have the shows I want to watch, so I just find them online.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And for
online.
specific, there's only specific shows that I will actually turn on the TV to go watch them. That being Doctor Who, Gotham, and Agents of Shield.
I only turn on the TV when I have to watch the news.
I watch the news, but you know I watch a lot of YouTube. There's actually a lot of great creative shows on YouTube. It's so much easier. I feel like TV's dying. Like, I'll be honest.
Maybe we just got to that age where it just doesn't, you know.
I think it's actually the opposite. I think TV is getting better than it's in terms of like quality of writing.
Yeah.
No, I agree with that. But I totally agree with that. But I also think
I guess like what you're trying to say is like
I mean,
it's dying.
like people actually going in front of the TV and watching it.
yeah,
People
I
are
think
not streaming it online.
shows are gonna go to less of we want ABC to pick this up
Like, we
too.
get more
Because,
like
like-
Nail
Yeah.
with the Daredevil and now Jessica Jones.
Well,
That's
and,
coming
like,
soon.
even
even
House of
Amazon,
Cards,
even
yeah.
Amazon has like its
Amazon
own
Prime,
like
Hulu Plus.
yeah, like
Yeah.
a lot of shows are going to online networks. And a lot of like people are going to that too. Like me, I watch all my shit on like third party websites.
I think the basic thing with TV shows now, like American cartoons, is they don't make their money with people watching the actual show. They make it off T-shirts, toys, and stuff. That's they're banking on that because people just don't watch it on TV as much anymore. So they need to rely on that stuff.
Steven Universe T-shirts. I would buy that. Steven Universe T-shirts.
Yeah,
I saw one guy with like the shirt Steven wears today.
Oh, that was a chick actually. That's cool.
Oh.
I need to rethink everything now.
Vaginas
are good.
Okay.
Am I the only person here who actually knows the legitimate answer to that question?
Shut up. Probably. Yeah. Well, you know what?
I've never had the honor of placing my fingers atop a vagina.
Well, I'll tell you this much: it's not what you think it is.
We get into.
I mean, it's a tentacle creature that comes out in the night and preys on children.
Okay. You know what? When I was like 10.
Are we actually talking about virginity now?
No.
Let's go back to the topic.
Part 3.
Part 3. Vaginas.
Vaginas. Did aliens make vaginas?
Yeah, just outrageous.
I think you told me about that, like the Gravity Falls joke.
Oh yeah, there's this joke in Gravity Falls where a kid's watching TV and he goes, "Now we're going back to Ghost Harassers on the Used to Be About History channel."
Did aliens make the Constitution?
Did aliens write the Constitution?
My grandfather like watches all those like aliens, and you know one of these things is about like if you say there's no aliens, kind of ignorant.
Yeah,
we live in a universe.
You're kind of a dumbass.
Statistically speaking, it's absurd to say that there isn't any other life besides this on this planet.
And I know people are gonna be like, oh, there's these guys talking about how they're so condescending and like, oh, you don't believe in aliens, you're a dumbass. Like, no, but just think about it, my friend. Just think about it.
And I was one of those people who were like, if you think there's aliens, you're crazy. Sometimes you need to be told something just to rethink what you're thinking because you're too ignorant. Your ignorance is above you. Because think about it, we live in a universe that is so massive, and if we could live somewhere, why can't other life?
Like I think statistically speaking, there's so many stars and planets and
we don't even have numbers for it.
Ability to support life.
We barely explored. I mean,
what I could say is like I've actually looked into this before. Like there's this theory. I can't remember the name of this theory, but I've seen it. Like people are like well, there's only 3 things you need to have to support life. You need to be this water this certain distance from the sun and a moon or something. But if you look at it, there's like over 200 requirements that need to be met with perfection in order for life to be able to flourish. Like you need to have a giant gas. You have a giant planet with a polar with a gravitational pull pull asteroids away, and all these things need to converge for for life to be possible.
Is that the requirements for just our specific kind of life?
No, for life. Period.
Period.
Because
not even carbon-based life. Something completely.
Life will find a way. Water could be the thing for us. It could be
Jurassic Park.
Yeah. But what I was saying is there is a lot of things that need to come together for life to be possible in our universe. And it's not just 3 things the Goldilocks zone, the water and the planet, and the right, all these the 3 things come together. There's a lot of things. So there's life out there, I guarantee.
Yeah.
But the likelihood of it being near us is much slim. Is very slim.
That aliens have ever even looked upon our planet is kind of ridiculous.
Did you guys ever think about something I just thought right now maybe there's aliens, 3 of us, that are having the same exact conversation.
Well, you could think of it this way: there's probably intelligent life out there somewhere, but
that are sitting on their planet, but aliens.
Yeah, right.
There could be a planet full of water, but then not being able to discover fire, they couldn't build anything. So there'd be intelligent life forms like dolphins on other planets. They wouldn't have. They wouldn't be exactly like us.
Yeah. Pop culture's basically got aliens completely wrong.
Yeah.
Because they need to make them always humanoid.
They make it into a merchandise.
To make them humanoid, to make them look like us. Realistically, if alien life was on another planet, they would have a completely different evolutionary history.
Because like a lot of things have to converge for like human evolution. I mean, like if you look back at like all the ancient creatures, like when Earth was starting out, you'd see a lot of things that look completely alien. That's evolution doing a trial and error phase. Like what works and what doesn't work, and what can adapt and what doesn't adapt.
At this point in history, 99% of
99% of everything that's ever existed on this planet
has gone extinct.
That's
We've had
sad.
like multiple.
No, it's not. That's life.
Yeah, we have multiple extinction events. You know, killing.
Five great extinction events.
One of them being the famous KT extinction event, wiping out the all the non-avian dinosaurs.
And that's how mammals got to.
But like it's one of those things like no fingerprint. There's no one has this matching, right? No one has matching fingerprints.
No tubule.
No people have
twins. Identical twins, maybe. I think identical twins do.
That would make sense.
Yeah, because they're identical.
But like, other than that, like,
other than that,
I'm
no
a
one
twin.
else.
Damn it, Seamus, get the out of here.
Are you fraternal or identical?
Identical.
Well, then you have the same fingerprints.
Yeah,
I think.
I don't know.
Unless I'm wrong.
Whatever. But what I'm saying is like, so like, if no one can have the same fingerprint, and like, there's not always gonna be the same exact life form. You know what I mean? Other planets are gonna have different life forms.
And like I'm gonna cut you off, but I know exactly where you're going. It's like on another planet, like the events that happened here that transpired allowed us to like come up to the top because like our brains allowed us, you know, to adapt and survive. But like things. Let me get to this one point.
Sorry, go.
Let me get to this one point. So like what may have like killed off this one species didn't happen on this other planet, and they're thriving there, and we didn't get to that, or what our equivalent to us didn't get to that point. Go.
Like the way evolution works is random mutations that stick around. Like for example, a bear with brown fur living in the Arctic suddenly has a baby with a random mutation that gives it white fur. Now suddenly that bear is able to hunt easier. It's able to hide from prey easier, and it survives easier. Its brown brothers die off while it lives on
and passes its genes to the next generation.
Yeah,
that's a perfect
mutation.
example.
If you have an alternate evolutionary history on a different planet, who knows if the likelihood that they would have the same random mutations as this planet are very unlikely.
And it's always good to have diversity when like in like what was that called, like the strong will survive, like diversity, natural selection. Diversity is the most important thing. There's probably planets out there that have like completely asexual like reproduction processes where creatures are exactly the same, and it takes one thing to wipe out the entire race. And that would probably be a factor into why we don't really see much life out in the universe. And also another thing is, like, think about like an anthill in Africa. I don't know where I got this, but I got this from somewhere. An anthill in Africa. They've never seen humans in their entire life, and there's no reason why a human would go visit this anthill in the middle of Africa. Right. So that could also like pertain to like how come aliens haven't visited us?
Because they don't need to.
They don't. Why would they? Yeah, we're just some random anthill in Africa.
I mean, that's one of those things where I do have to say, if we came upon an anthill, we'd be like, I'm that stupid guy who loves to kick all the anthills.
I like to stay away from the fucking fire ants, man.
Fire ants. Fuck those guys. Anyway, and I kind of
hope aliens don't find us and like
because
that kid who's like, oh, anthill, kick it.
And also like
leave the humans alone, honey.
I think there's a little difference in that anthill situation, because if we saw an anthill, we've seen anthills before, but if aliens saw, and it wouldn't affect life as we know it. If we saw aliens, I don't know why it needs to change, other than we found a whole complete different life form. That would change the world as we know it.
Yeah.
But
could be religion and stuff like that.
Religion, everything would change.
Jesus!
But after a while, that just
Jesus didn't talk about no fucking aliens.
That just become the normal.
Yeah.
And then it'd be like, okay, aliens are a thing.
You're talking about the anthill. Makes me think about like, well, what if aliens are out there, and their like cognitive abilities are far beyond ours? Like, they come to our planet, and we are literally like ants to them. Like, they're like, oh, they're not like us. They don't feel like us. They're not as intelligent as us. Like we're basically ants to them.
Yeah.
Well, what you were saying earlier, like how Jake was talking about what if they like come and kick us. Like you see, like humans, us ourselves, like we're a very violent species, and like maybe like out there, like if aliens came over here, they probably wouldn't be as violent as we are.
And see, but also you can say the opposite thing as
They could be more, but like
there's the thing is the world is so big, thousands of endless possibilities, and stuff's always changing.
Wow. Study this, but like how the universe is expanding, how we might be on the downside now, like it might be collapsing in on itself now.
Jesus, do you guys get freaked out when you hear stuff like that?
Well, it's not gonna affect us. This is like billions and billions of years in the future. Like,
trust me, humans won't even be a thing.
It still freaks me out.
It'll fuck up the next guys down the line.
I'll hear some like crazy theory and I'll be like, I think I'm dying. Like, do you guys remember like a year ago we had that thing at our school where like yeah, I remember last year we had that gas leak or whatever it was, and it didn't affect my part of the school at all. It was like one part of the school, but everyone was talking about it, and then I was like, nah, I feel fine. And then I saw one of the teachers passed out, and I was like, shit, I don't feel well. Like I got a headache. You start to the placebo effect, as they call it.
Like my view of how I'm feeling has been sorely skewed, because every time I'm like, oh, I don't feel so well, or do I not think I feel so well because I'm just under the placebo effect.
What's that?
The placebo effect. It's based off this thing where people give you this pill, oh, this pill will cure your headache. They give it to you, and they're like, how do you feel? Oh, I feel much better.
Oh,
and the pill, nothing. It did nothing.
I
just
have
water.
a perfect example of that. So, see this necklace I'm wearing. It's an ocean jasper.
Yeah, they can see it in the podcast.
Well, we'll take a picture of it, I guess. Nah, fuck it.
Just
It's an ocean jasper gem, and for me, it resonates with my astrological sign. It tells me that it protects me physically, emotionally, and spiritually. And of course, I don't believe in none of that bullshit. But then I kind of do for the stone, and it actually does tricks my mind to thinking, pushes away all this depression, all this other things coming hurting me spiritually and emotionally, and it pushes it away. So I know that this stone doesn't have any magical fucking powers, but it tricks my mind into thinking that, which helps me get through some stuff. That's why I wear it all the time.
Oh, I would say, man, we've had a crazy conversation about creativity, modding, aliens,
just storytelling.
That was
placebo effect.
I feel like we could go on for 2 more hours at least.
Well, it's too
just
bad.
Storytelling in general.
Yeah, we might want to wrap it up right now, right?
Yeah, we gotta wrap this up.
All right, yeah, it's been great. Got any plugins, John?
Okay, so if you wanna visit me on Twitter, same name, Animatormon, just on Twitter. Subscribe to this channel as well. This has been. I am your host. Am I the host?
Yeah, you're the host.
I've been your host, John Rios, and I've been talking with
Sam Johnston
and Jake Boneski. Thanks for having me, guys.
It's been a pleasure.
Yeah. Catch you on the flip side.
Later.